I love Iceberg videos. Wendigoon, Tuv, Dantavius is my personal favorite, and since I love Iceberg videos so much, I've always wanted to make one of my own. So when I saw this Gorillaz Iceberg on Reddit, I was over the moon excited. I knew I had to make a video on it. So today, I'm going to be covering layers 1 and 2 of this Gorillaz Iceberg. There's a lot to cover, so I'm just going to get straight into it, starting with layer 1. This is your typical kind of background information. Pretty much any casual fan of the band is going to know this stuff. 2D, Murdoch, Russell, Noodle. The virtual members of the band. 2D sings and plays keys, Murdoch plays bass, Russell plays drums, and Noodle plays guitar. Collaborators. Gorillaz have a history of having a huge amount of features and guest artists in their music. They've worked with everyone from Snoop Dogg to Elton John. Damon Albarn / Jamie Hewlett. While 2D, Murdoch, Russell, and Noodle are the virtual band members, the real people behind Gorillaz are Damon Albarn, who creates the music, and Jamie Hewlett, who creates the artwork and visual aspects of the band. Official lore. There's a long-running story built around the virtual band. It's extremely long and confusing. You can find the full story on the Gorillaz wiki as well as on YouTube, but in my opinion, they don't cover the story fully, so eventually I'll make a video on it myself. So subscribe. Old versus new Gorillaz. Basically, Gorillaz pre-2017 is very different from Gorillaz post-2017. In so many ways, it's impossible to explain here. I'm actually planning to make multiple videos about this, so subscribe. Blur. Blur is the band Damon Albarn was in before he created Gorillaz. They were really popular in Britain in the 90s and were known for having a rivalry with Oasis, the band who made Wonderwall. G/D sides. Gorillaz used to have a pattern of releasing compilation albums after each of their major studio albums. These albums contained remixes of the studio album singles as well as songs that didn't make the final album. After Gorillaz came G-sides, and after Demon Days came D-sides. Get it? Because it's like a play on B-sides. It's funny. The Last Cult. Basically, this is a reference to the lore of the band, specifically the lore around their upcoming album Cracker Island, which is themed around cults. In the band's lore, The Last Cult was created by Murdoch, and if you sign up for email newsletters on the Gorillaz website, you become a member of the cult and you receive messages from him. Pickle. Because Murdoch is green, it's common for fans to refer to him, or more specifically his dick, as a pickle. Gorillaz are well aware of this, even creating a website, nickelspickles.com, which is just a fake ad for a jar of pickles. The warning at the bottom says may contain nuts of all varieties, which I think is really funny. TikTok marketing. In recent years, Gorillaz created a TikTok account to promote their music. People like to clown on their TikToks because they are pretty cringy, and it kind of goes against the anti-consumerist, anti-celebrity message of the band. Del. Del is another character from Gorillaz lore represented in real life by rapper Del the Funky Homo Sapien. In the lore, he is the best friend of drummer Russell, who was killed in a drive-by shooting, after which he became a ghost who lives inside Russell at all times and comes out to record rap verses when Russell falls asleep until he was taken by the Grim Reaper and was never seen again. Told you the lore is confusing. GTA 5 VOTP. So you're probably familiar with the game GTA or Grand Theft Auto. VOTP in this entry stands for Valley of the Pagans, which was a track off the 2020 album Song Machine. The music video for the song featured background animation from GTA 5 until it was removed due to copyright. The video was later reposted with different backgrounds. 2D keyframe. Also known as the keyframe of doom, this entry refers to a specific keyframe of 2D that was used for everything during the promotion of Song Machine. A keyframe is a drawing used in animation to mark the start and end points of a specific action. Basically, this is a still image of 2D that was reused over and over and over again. I'm not going to say it like that. The Bath. I already talked about this in my G-Bytes video, but this was a meme that started in 2017 from this clip from the Saturn's Bars music video.
The bath! Hey you guys, I'm just gonna take a bath.
Admittedly, it was funny at the time, but this meme has been beaten to death over the course of 5 years, and I think at this point, most people are sick of it. 5/4 scrapped vid. So the song 5/4 from the first Gorillaz album was supposed to be a single and have its own music video. However, the video was scrapped, presumably for its heavy nudity, and Rock the House was chosen as a single instead. Storyboards from this video are available on YouTube, and there's also a fan-made version that looks pretty great. Member social medias. 2 of the virtual band members have social media accounts. Noodle has Instagram and Murdoch has Twitter, although I always thought he seemed like more of a Facebook guy. Cyborg Noodle. So the context behind this entry is kind of hard to explain because once again it ties into the lore of the band, but just know that at one point, to make a super long story... What? Guitarist Noodle was presumed to be dead. So Murdoch retrieved some scraps of her DNA and used them to build a cyborg replica of her called Cyborg Noodle. Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is a Puerto Rican rapper and singer. Gorillaz have a song with artist Bad Bunny called Tormenta on their upcoming album Cracker Island. It's really not any deeper than that. Billie Eilish. I'm assuming I don't have to tell you who Billie Eilish is, but Damon Albarn, the musician behind Gorillaz, and Billie Eilish are very openly fans of each other, which has led a lot of fans to think a collab is coming, but nothing's come up so far. Damon stans. Damon has a lot of stans. I don't know what else to tell you. And that brings us to layer 2. So this is information that maybe not everybody knows, but if you dig on the Gorillaz wiki for like 30 seconds, you'll be able to find this stuff. Rise of the Ogre. Rise of the Ogre is a book chronicling the lore of the virtual band up until the year 2006. It's pretty much looked up to as a lore bible by fans, and physical copies are extremely rare and also expensive as shit. Laika Come Home. Laika Come Home is a Gorillaz album consisting entirely of remixes of the songs from their debut album. If you watched my Gorillaz album ranking, you'll know I don't care for this album at all, but a lot of people think it's really underrated, so I would definitely listen for yourself. Bananas. Bananas is a documentary which follows Damon and Jamie through the band's inception and the creation of their first 2 albums. I personally think it's really interesting and a good look into the real people behind Gorillaz and how these characters and their world came together, as well as, how the actual music was made. Art book. This entry refers to a recently published collection of Gorillaz artwork from a variety of guest artists. So many talented people have contributed to this book, from Owl House creator Dana Terrace to Jack Black. Almanac. The Almanac is another recent Gorillaz book which has a bunch of weird, fun stuff inside. There are pages of Jamie's artwork, comics, games, puzzles, all related to and about Gorillaz. Swifties. A few months ago, Damon did an interview where he, quite stupidly in my opinion, said Taylor Swift didn't write her own music. If you're familiar with her fans, you'll know that by saying this, he might as well have stuck his head into a hornet's nest. Taylor herself would later call him out on Twitter, and that was the final nail in the coffin. Legions of 14-year-olds flocked to the DMs of his Instagram page, which I don't think he even runs, to tell him he was old and irrelevant and that he should kill himself. He later issued an apology, but who knows, she'll probably write a 15-minute song about him later down the line, and it'll win like 10 Grammys. Superplastic. Superplastic is a company that specializes in vinyl figurines. Gorillaz have teamed up with them multiple times in recent years to produce figurines of the characters, which you can buy for the low price of... What the fuck? Kid Robot. Kid Robot is kind of the precursor to Superplastic. They also make a lot of vinyl toys, and in the early days of Gorillaz, they would also make lines of Gorillaz figurines. Dare Live. The song Dare is one of their biggest hits, so obviously it's been played live many times, and there have been several occurrences where Sean Ryder, one of the features on the track, gets absolutely blasted before the show and gives just the worst performance you've ever heard. Again, there are several instances of this happening, probably the worst one being during Demon Days Live, when Sean's performance was so awful that Damon stormed off stage and the whole band had to restart the song. Other times, though, Sean will come on stage late, he'll be off-tempo, or he just won't sing at all, or if he does, it sounds like this. This entire phenomenon is kind of funny, but also kind of sad, because clearly he was struggling with some kind of substance abuse, but even so, the whole thing has just become a big meme. Self-titled box. For the 20th anniversary of their self-titled debut album, Gorillaz released a super deluxe box set containing vinyls of Gorillaz, G-Sides, and Like a Come Home, as well as a bunch of artwork and previously unreleased live recordings and demos. Meanwhile EP. Meanwhile was an EP released in 2021. It was made to celebrate the Notting Hill Carnival in London, as well as to mark the band's 20th anniversary. It has 3 songs, and it is not that good, in my opinion. G-Mixes. G-Mixes were playlists on Spotify that were curated by the virtual band. Each character had a G-Mix that they updated every month. That's about it. G-Bites. G-Bites were a series of animated shorts, again, revolving around the virtual band. I made a whole video about them, so I won't go too in-depth here. If you're still curious, watch that video. Murdoch is bi. Murdoch, the band's fictional bassist, is canonically bisexual. He's mentioned in several interviews that he's had sex with men, there are men he finds attractive, etc., and we all know he likes women, so that makes him bi. Kong Studios website. Back in the olden days, on the Gorillaz website, you could explore Kong Studios, the fictional building where Gorillaz live and record. Or they used to anyways. You could see their bedrooms, the cinema, the portal to hell in the basement. You know, regular recording studio stuff. Paula Cracker. Paula Cracker is a minor character in Gorillaz lore who was the original guitarist before being replaced by Noodle. Why was she replaced? Well, she was dating 2D at the time until she decided she wanted a taste of that pickle juice and ended up hooking up with Murdoch in the Kong bathrooms, after which she was kicked out. Retcons. As I said before, the Gorillaz lore is extremely long and extremely convoluted. After the band's head writer, Cass Brown, left the project in 2012, things really went downhill. Since the band's return in 2017, there have been a million retcons and plot holes that have popped up in the band's lore. For example, remember Cyborg Noodle? Well, turns out that once the real Noodle found out about her, she killed her cyborg counterpart and used her head as a bonsai pot. Except she didn't. Cyborg Noodle was actually off doing yoga and living her best life. Except she wasn't, she actually started a band of her own. Except she didn't, she was actually stuck on Plastic Beach the whole time. Confused? Yep, me too. G-Shock/M101. In 2018, Gorillaz had a partnership with watch company G-Shock, which they promoted with a series of shorts called M101. These shorts followed Murdoch and company as they blast off into space to sell watches to aliens. I don't know, man. Uncensored Saturn's Bars. Throughout the music video for Saturn's Bars, Murdoch is, how do I put this politely, a butt-ass naked. Oh, but don't get too excited because it's pixelated. At least it is now. When the video was first uploaded, it was completely uncensored until YouTube shut it down, but you can still find uncensored screenshots on Google. Not that I Googled it. I'm just saying, if you Google it, that's what you'll find. Twitter Spaces. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is referring to a recent event in which Murdoch hopped onto Twitter to answer questions from fans. Murdoch will do live streams like this pretty often, probably because his voice actor, Phil Cornwell, is an absolute god at improv. Meanwhile Vinyl. Gorillaz only released 100 physical copies of Meanwhile, which were only sold at certain record shops in the US, UK, Mexico, Argentina, Japan, France, and Spain. I'm not really sure why this release was so selective, and overall this was a pretty poorly received move. Stuart Podcast. This entry refers to a podcast by fictional singer 2D. The title is a play on his real name, Stuart Pott. The episodes are really short and are mostly just little tidbits of him talking about anything and everything. I would give it a listen. It's pretty cute and it's definitely not time consuming. I will say that the current voice actor for 2D, Kevin Bishop, really gets on my nerves for a number of reasons, but hey, that's just me. Mike the Monkey. Mike the Monkey is another minor Gorillaz character. He was Noodle's pet monkey in the band's early years and then completely disappeared until 2020, and I love him. RFI Movement. RFI stands for Reject False Icons, which was a social movement created by Gorillaz in 2004. It was also kind of a marketing campaign to promote the music video for their song Rocket. The purpose of the movement was to teach people that celebrities shouldn't be held to an icon-like status. In fact, the band itself was meant to serve as a critique of celebrity culture. I guess the Swifties didn't get the memo. Actually, that's not fair. They wouldn't even have been born in 2004. Reject False Icons documentary. Reject False Icons was a documentary released in 2019. named after the movement we just went over. It followed the Gorillaz live band as they toured their new album Humans and also recorded and released another album, The Now Now, while still on tour. It differs from Bananas in the sense that it's more focused on Damon and the music rather than Jamie's input, which is interesting given it was directed by Jamie's son. Either way though, I would recommend both. They're on YouTube last time I checked. Hashtag Free Murdoch. So I probably should have mentioned this before, but each album, as well as the lore associated with it, is usually tied into a neat little bundle and called a phase. Currently, we're in Phase 7, but hashtag Free Murdoch comes from Phase 5. Basically, the storyline surrounding Phase 5 is that Murdoch gets thrown in jail, and it's your job to get him out. Basically, there was this whole experience where you could chat with Murdoch through Facebook Messenger and help him hatch a plan to escape from jail. I know people love to hate on the modern lore, myself included, but I actually thought this was super fun. Anyways, the campaign to get Murdoch out of jail was called hashtag Free Murdoch. Fortunately, or unfortunately, it worked, and he was released in August of 2018. Hashtag Free the Sea. Another movement started by Gorillaz fans, but this one actually has real-world implications. Plastic Beach was originally envisioned as a project called Carousel, which we'll talk about later. It was then planned to be a trilogy of albums, but then all of this was scrapped and reworked into just one album, Plastic Beach. Damon has said that there are hundreds of tracks from the Plastic Beach era that have yet to see the light of day. So, a group of fans with too much free time started a movement to get these songs released to the public, called hashtag Free the Sea. Now, this campaign was at its height back in 2018, and nothing's come of it yet, so I wouldn't get my hopes up. Bose. Another Gorillaz brand deal. You can buy earbuds with the characters' faces on them. Remember when I said this band was anti-consumerism? DYT Timeline. DYT in this entry stands for Do Ya Thing, the longest and best Gorillaz song, that's just a fact. The song was released as a standalone single in 2012 with an accompanying music video. The video in question is famous for having a timeline that doesn't really jive with any other aspect of established Gorillaz canon. Most people just consider it to be part of its own continuity, especially as most of it's been retconned. I always forget how to pronounce this. Leviathan. Leviathan? I should Google this. I Googled it before I started recording, and then I forgot how to pronounce it.
Leviathan.
Leviathan is arguably the most famous of the unreleased Plastic Beach tracks. It featured the horrors and was supposed to be about a man having delusions of a whale trying to kill him. You can hear a clip of the demo version in yet another documentary about the making of Plastic Beach, but unfortunately, the full version has been lost, and we'll probably never hear it. Samba at 13. Samba at 13 is a lesser-known track included on the Japanese edition of D-Sides. It is also Ass. Red Bull. Gorillaz partnered with Red Bull in 2017, and you could buy cans with the characters on them. Smirnoff. Gorillaz partnered with Smirnoff in 2022, and you could buy bottles with the characters on them. Each character also presents a recipe for their own cocktail, which, yeah, that's pretty fun. Gore Beaten. Gore Beaten is an unreleased Gorillaz song from Phase 1. You used to be able to hear parts of it on the Kong Studios website, but the song was never released in full. 911. 911 was a song Gorillaz made with Terry Hall and D12 minus Eminem, inspired by the September 11th attacks, which were very recent at the time. It's not an unreleased or lost track, it's just relatively obscure. Dr. Wurzel. Dr. Wurzel is another minor character in Gorillaz lore. His first and only appearance was in Phase 1 when he stole Murdoch's Winnebago, but after some hijinks he was apprehended and presumably went to jail. Gorilla. The band was originally supposed to be called Gorilla No Z, as you can see in this very early bit of concept art. Electric Shock. Electric Shock is another unreleased track from Plastic Beach and was later reworked into both Rhinestone Eyes and Strobe Light from Humans. MTV Cribs. I feel like this one should be higher up because it's pretty well known, but for those of you who don't know, Gorillaz had their own episode of MTV Cribs where Murdoch shows the audience around Kong Studios and his Winnebago. If you hadn't seen it, definitely check it out because it's absolutely hilarious and one of my favorite pieces of Gorillaz media. Spider-Man. Pretty sure this entry is just referring to the Spider-Man shirt 2D wears in the Rock the House video. Wizard's Portal. This is another meme amongst the Gorillaz fandom, which comes from their ad for Internet Explorer IE9, specifically this clip.
Internet Explorer 9. That's what it's called. I mean, it's like a wizard's portal. It's like a wizard's portal.
Gay polar bear. The polar bear used to sit in the music room on the old Kong Studios website. If you clicked on him, he'll tell you a story, and then his pants will fall down. I don't know where the whole gay thing comes from. Celebrity Harvest was a scrapped film that originated during Phase 1. It was supposed to be about celebrities whose egos would manifest literally as big boils on their head. The script was fully written, and the band even made a deal with DreamWorks, but then DreamWorks was like, well, we want the film to be family-friendly, and Jamie was like, I don't know what that means. Celebrity Harvest was eventually scrapped entirely, but some form of Gorillaz movie or series has been in development hell ever since. Ocean Bacon. Alright, back to the lore. So in Phase 2, it was revealed that Noodle was actually raised to be a super soldier for the Japanese military. It was decided that the project was too dangerous, though, and the Japanese government ordered that all the child soldiers be killed. However, the scientist running the project, Mr. Kyuzo, couldn't bear to kill Noodle and instead erased her memory. The phrase used to induce this amnesia, as well as reverse it, was Ocean Bacon. Tour hats. At the risk of sounding like a fake fan, I don't know what this one means. I mean, they sell hats, like, as merch, and sometimes, like, fans will give Damon a hat that he'll wear on stage, but I don't know. I couldn't really find much on this one. Mix 2. Mix 2 is another unreleased track that was only available on the Kong Studios website. That's it. Charts of Darkness. Charts of Darkness is another Gorillaz film, but instead of a documentary, it's a mockumentary. The plot follows Damon and Jamie after they're attacked by the virtual band for taking all the credit for Gorillaz. But when they try to tell police, a bunch of cartoon characters beat them up. Everyone thinks they're insane, obviously. Charts of Darkness is really funny, really clever, and I highly recommend it to any Gorillaz fan. Search for a Star. Search for a Star was a talent contest held during Phase 2. To make a long story short, got it right that time, fans could submit their own art or music, and the winners would get a chance to collaborate with Gorillaz. In the end, 3 winners were chosen, and they all got the chance to contribute to the final single off Demon Days. Taxi Back to the 80s. Taxi Back to 80s Reykjavik is a deluxe track on the Japanese edition of Song Machine. Big Rick Black. Big Rick Black's Record Shack, say that 3 times fast, god damn, was a record store where Russell worked until he was kidnapped by Murdoch and brought to Kong Studios. Somehow, the shop ended up on Plastic Beach, where it was destroyed in the music video for The Lost Chord. Richard Van Az. Richard Van Az is a YouTube creator who made a fully animated version of the original storyboards for what was supposed to be the Rhinestone Eyes music video. It took them years and it looks incredible, so definitely go check it out. Gorillaz on My Mind. This is a song by the rapper Redman, which is sort of a remix to the Gorillaz song 192000. Not much more to it. Hooligrams. Dude, again, I am so sorry, but I have no clue what this is. I don't know if they're referencing holograms or what. Hong Kong Sneeze. This is referring to a live performance of the song Hong Kong, during which Damon sneezes. G Club, the official Gorillaz Facebook group. That's all. Demon Detour. Demon Detour was a virtual tour of the album Demon Days, which was broadcasted via radio. The music from the tour was recorded live in studio, and footage of these sessions can be seen in Bananas. Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers is, surprise, an unreleased track that was meant to be on the Now Now. Unlike the other released tracks on this Iceberg so far, we've never heard even a second of this song, and we probably never will. Trans Comic. Again, guys, I don't know. I thought about skipping the entries I couldn't find any information on, but then I felt like people might wonder why I skipped them, and I didn't want to leave anything out, so sorry, I don't know. Blind Box. The blind boxes are part of the Gorillaz and Super Plastic collaboration. Basically, you can order a blind box with a figurine inside, but you won't know what figurine is inside until it arrives. So people ordered a ton of blind boxes in hopes of collecting all the characters. I've seen a couple cases where people will order multiple blind boxes and get the same figurine multiple times, which would piss me right the off. Demo Crazy. Demo Crazy is an album of demos released by Damon Albarn under his own name. It's notable for its opening track, I Need a Gun, which would later become the Gorillaz song Dirty Harry. Song Machine Season 2. The album Song Machine is labeled as Season 1, leading fans to think a second season is coming sometime soon. Nobody really knows if this is actually happening or if it was supposed to happen and was scrapped in favor of Cracker Island, but I don't know, it could go either way. And that is the end of Layers 1 and 2 of this Gorillaz Iceberg. My next video will be a sequel to this one where I cover layers 3 and 4, and then I'll make one more where I cover 5 and 6. I think there are 6 layers, right? Maybe I can't count. But there should be 3 videos, and then I'll put them all together into one big thing so you can watch them all together. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you liked me, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you'll be the first to know next time I'm stranded on a beach eating massive... Oh wait, I think I used that joke before, didn't I? Oops. Anyways, I gotta go. My toys have arrived. Bye!